All right, guys, I am back at the hotel here. And some of you guys are like, man, I thought you were sleeping out of your truck. I was. Ooh, those glasses look weird with that reflection in there. Let me take those off for a second. So I was sleeping out of the truck. But when I was driving down here to North Carolina, I drove through that blizzard. And I had all my wash in the back of the truck. And I got about 6 inches of snow back there, and all my clothes froze together. So I had to get them in a place where I could thaw them out. Also, I'm going to turn this around so you can see. My battery pack had died as well, and the last thing you want to do is be without power when you're on the road. So brought that. I figured the best thing to do is to get a hotel room for a couple of nights, bring that in here. They dumped a bunch of claims on me. Obviously, I did the wash already. Turn this back. Yeah, you saw my. So they did dump a bunch of claims on me. I just couldn't balance everything without having a place to really just settle down and get organized. So I found a hotel in the middle of my claims here. And I'll probably stick it out for about the rest of the week, and then we'll decide. There's more freezing weather coming here in the next few days, so I'll probably stick the week out here and make a decision from there on where I'm going to stay. But I wanted to follow up with you guys on that inspection. I actually wasn't looking to make a video on that, and it was kind of like a last second, like, oh man, this is a good little video here. So I'm going to kind of talk to you guys about what my thought process was going into this claim, and then how I made my assessment. So this is actually an additional inspection that I got. So an additional inspection is not a reinspection. Those are two different things. Reinspections are done by reinspectors, and I am not a reinspector. But I did do a second look. So basically what happened is the first person went out there, said there was no hail. Roofer came out and said, yeah, there was hail. Asked for an additional inspection. The desk adjuster on the claim turned the claim down. A month or two goes by. Homeowner's doing some renovations. Contractor happened to get on the roof and says, no, you really do have hail up here. And took a couple photos, sent those photos in. The desk adjuster just said, hey, review this, and if you feel like you need to go do another inspection, go ahead and schedule it. This wasn't my claim originally. It was just given to me. So took a look at the photos. It was hard to tell from the photos if there was anything. But one thing I did notice is that on the original inspection, there was no photos of any of the soft metals, just of the roof. And so because there was that question mark, I was like, yeah, you know what? We probably need to go take a second look at this. Okay. Now, in the back of my mind, I'm literally thinking there's no damage, okay? I was predetermined, or I had a predetermined notion there was no damage. Everything was iffy, just based on the original inspection and this contractor's inspection. But what I've learned is, sorry, I was looking over there. What I've learned is, no matter what, we have to look at every claim, whether it's the first inspection or the fourth inspection, with a fresh set of eyes. And so even though in the back of my mind I was like, you know what, I bet I'm not going to find anything, I'm still going to go there and do a full inspection, because our job as adjusters is to extend coverage when necessary. Okay? Our job is to execute the policy. So if homeowners are just paying insurance and they never get to utilize it, I mean, think about all the money they just wasted over the years, right? So our job is to make sure they get their money's worth. And most insurance companies are going to tell you, yeah, we want people to get coverage when they have damage, because then they'll keep paying their premiums, okay? No one's going to donate to insurance, so they want to make sure we get coverage. So no matter what, we always want to go into a claim with a fresh set of eyes. Doesn't matter what we think, what the original photos tell us. I mean, we're going to have some preconceived notion on what's going on when we go into this, but we have to do our best to go in with a fresh set of eyes. Also, we have to be looking to extend coverage, okay? Like I just said there, we want to look to extend coverage. We're not looking, we will never commit fraud, We are not going to commit fraud, but we are going to look to extend coverage, okay? So what that means is I'm going out there to do this inspection. I have to make sure I do a real thorough job because this was a tough roof to look at. It's a 3-story home, 9 steep. It was 9 steep is really hard to do, especially on 3-story homes because you don't always have a long enough Ridgepro. Now, I'll do a video on why I use a Ridgepro and not a goat later on. Although in this case here, a goat probably would have been better just with the way the roof was. But when I go into an inspection like this, what I want to do, first thing, is what you should always do, okay, is you want to do the most thorough inspection you can of the at the ground level, okay? And actually, I'm going to draw this out real quick for you. I'm grab a pen and paper. Just thinking about this. All right, give me a second here. Okay, so hail damage is not just going to be on the roof, okay? So if you have a hail claim and you were just looking at the roof, you are cheating your insureds. All right, I don't know why I did it that way, but you guys get it. Okay, whatever. All right, I'm going to flip this around, okay? So let's say it's our house. I know it's not that pretty, okay? And let's say the hail is coming in at this angle. All right? Now, do you think the hail is only going to stick to the roof? Is only going to hit the roof? No. It's going to be hitting the side of the house. It's going to be hitting anything that's on the ground level here. You know, there might be some windows that might get hit, right? So you have windows you got to check. You have the siding you got to check. You got soffits. You got gutters. Anything that's soft metal, meter boxes. Those are all the stuff you can check on the ground before you even go to the roof. The reason you want to check that out is you're looking for evidence of hail. I'm going to be honest. Sometimes it's hard to tell what hail is. I'll flip this camera back. Sometimes it's hard to tell what hail is on a roof, right? Because some blistering can look like hail. Some, some just wear and tear, granule loss can look like hail. Sometimes it's hard to tell. So what you want to do is you want to do a thorough inspection of the ground level first. And what you're looking for is just evidence of hail. Evidence of hail. You're not necessarily looking for damage, okay? Now, you might find damage. We definitely want to look for damage, but we're looking for evidence of hail. So just because hail hits something doesn't mean it's damage, but it may leave a little residue, right? So hail hits the side of the house and, hits the siding. It may not leave a dent, but you can tell, hey, this was caused by something hitting it. It knocked some dirt off. It left a little bit of residue. Okay. This is a little bit of evidence of hail, okay? The other thing, before even that, doing your weather reports, right, for the data loss. Was there a hail report in the area, right? Are all the weather reports accurate? No. That's why we still do inspections, right? We still have to go do the inspections. But what it does is it gives you evidence for hail. So first thing I did is I went out and I did a thorough inspection of all the downspouts, the siding. I looked at any of the gutters that I could see, screens, soft metals, meter boxes. I looked at all that stuff and I found evidence for hail. Okay. Now on the downspout, some people say, well, that's not hail damage, if it's below your belt. So if it's below the belt, it's not hail damage. It was the lawnmower that kicked stuff up. That's nonsense. Okay. Now it could be true, but it doesn't mean that's not a matter of fact statement. Okay. Hail can hit the bottom of a gutter, downspout, the same that, hail can hit the top of the roof. It just depends on angles. Okay. What you're looking for is consistency of size. Right? So if I'm looking at a downspout and I see, one downspout I have, 8 feet up, I have this 1/4 inch ding in it, okay? And then I look down, and near the bottom, I have a 1/4 inch ding in it, and it's roughly the same size and shape. Okay, well, I can assume that was hail, right? However, if I have a 1/4 inch ding on the downspout and I look down and I have an 1.5 inch ding on the bottom, okay, we can assume that might have been the lawnmower kicking stuff up, right? We gotta be reasonable, okay? So I did a thorough inspection of the soft metals, everything that I could see from the ground. I did a thorough inspection, and I found evidence of hail. Okay, doesn't necessarily mean I found damaging evidence, right? But I found evidence of hail, and there was some damage to the downspouts, for sure. So then what I did is I did the lowest hanging fruit first. I went on the easiest to reach level of the roof. Now, if you remember from the video, I said we don't need a 10 by 10 square. That's what most people do. They use a 10 by 10 square to do their square. By the way, when we're talking about squares, for you new people, a square is just 100 square feet. That's what a square is, okay? So a 10 by 10 is a 10 foot by 10 foot square, okay? Roofs are measured in squares or 100 foot increments, okay? So lowest hanging fruit first. I always start with the lowest hanging fruit, and I'll tell you why. If I can find consistent evidence on the ground that I'm finding on the lowest hanging fruit of the roofs, that means that when I get to the harder sections, I'll tell you this. So I'm not looking. So like that last section, if you watch my video, you'll have to watch that video to see what I'm talking about. I didn't climb that whole steep slope. The reason being is I had enough circumstantial evidence on all the lower slopes to justify what I did on that top slope. Does that make sense? So if you do a real good, thorough inspection of the base of the house, and then on the easiest, lowest hanging fruit on the lowest slopes, then on those real complicated, slopes, you don't have to climb up there. You just got to get, a square. So what I did with that square, I did a 5 by 20, not a 10 by 10, because I wasn't going to climb up there. And the evidence that I saw on that top rear half of the roof matched what I had found everywhere else. So I can reasonably say that slope had damage, right? Because all the evidence matched. So that's what I did. So I started the lowest slopes first, did a real thorough. Guess what I'm looking at? I'm looking at the soft turtles, the turtle vents. I'm looking there. I'm looking at the top of the downspouts that I can see. I'm looking at the flashing. And again, I'm finding evidence of hail. And the size matters, right? So I could tell based on the size, if I had a question between, okay, was this blistering or is this hail damage? I would base it on the size, right? So if I had a question, but the size matched the hail evidence that I've seen, then I'm going to assume it was hail. Now, you still may have a manager come back and say, no, that's not hail, but that's not your job. Your job is to make reasonable assumptions on what damage is, especially when it comes to hail, okay? So if I don't know if something's a blister or if something's a hail hit, if the area is roughly the same size of all the other damage from the soft metals, I'm going to assume it's hail. That's what I'm going to do, and I'm going to make someone tell me it's not, okay? So I did the lowest slopes first, and then I worked my way up to those harder to reach areas. And what I found is the average square had about 5 to 6 damaged shingles in it, all roughly the same size. And, when I did that last slope, that real steep slope, I just stayed toward the bottom. I really didn't climb up that roof, and I just found my 5 by 20 area, and guess what I found? 4 or 5 damaged shingles from hail. So I can reasonably assume that the rest, even though I didn't get all the way up to the top of that one ridge, I can reasonably assume that the damage is consistent because every other slope and all the downspouts and all the soft metals had roughly the same size damage. And so I can make a reasonable assessment that this, in fact, is hail. So what I'm going to do is I am going to go ahead and write this stuff up. And I'm going to make a real thorough, then I'm going to document what I did, right? So I need to make a real thorough documentation of why I'm assuming hail damage, right? And I'm going to give all my evidences. And I took really good photos. Okay, so you can't take too many photos of hail damage. Sometimes on wind, because wind sometimes is so blatantly obvious, you can, snap your 3 photos of an elevation and get it covered. Hail is different. They're going to want a lot of photos. So I think yesterday I took 110 photos. On this one, I know I'm at 70 plus photos, maybe even 80 or more for this roof. But I can reasonably assume that there's going to be coverage extended, and I have a strong argument if they come back and say, well, defend yourself. Why are you making this assumption? I have a strong argument because I did a very thorough job, ground up, not just inspecting the roof. So anyways, you guys have any questions, feel free to comment down below. Also feel free to like and subscribe. I got about 5 of these videos I'm getting ready to post on how I climb this roof, where I put my Ridgepro, safety precautions, that kind of stuff, how to set up a ladder on a deck, which is very dangerous, by the way. Why I did a double pull without 2 people. You don't want to do that usually, but this case here I felt reasonably safe, and I explained why in the video. So like and subscribe, watch those videos, and let me know what you guys think. We'll talk to you later.